Hey guys, welcome to this video. This is John Watts. What we're going to talk about in this video is what I call the GPS foreclosure defense method. And why do you use that? To save your home from foreclosure. So this is when either you know you have a foreclosure coming up or you're starting to fall behind, or maybe you anticipate in the next month or two falling behind. So these are some secrets that your mortgage company does not want you to know about, because a lot of times it's actually in their best interest to foreclose on you. They will actually make more money if they foreclose on you. So let's talk about what we're going to discover in this video. We'll talk about this GPS foreclosure defense. We'll talk about the danger that you face. We'll talk about why, if you're serious about saving your home, you have to take immediate massive action. And we'll talk about an option to do this on your own without hiring a lawyer. So you're not going to spend money, you'll spend time. And then we'll talk about, well, if you want to find a lawyer to do this, how do you find the right lawyer? And then what do you actually do after watching this video? So, quick disclaimer, I know you know this, I'm not your lawyer. If you want an opinion from a lawyer, talk to a lawyer who's licensed in your state. I'm licensed in Alabama. So the point of this video is to give you sort of a framework or methodology to be able to approach this problem of, oh no, I am behind on my mortgage now. Or maybe there's even a foreclosure schedule. What do I do? So this is not legal advice for you. This is to get you started in the right direction and encourage you to move in that right direction so that you can save your home. So in Alabama, if something's considered advertisement, and it's debatable whether this be considered advertisement, but here's the disclaimer. No representations made. Quality of legal service to be performed is greater quality of legal services performed by other lawyers. Okay, enough with the disclaimer. Why should you watch this video? Maybe you've watched other videos of mine, and so you have some confidence in me. But if not, why watch this? Well, I'll tell you this. I've been suing mortgage companies for about 20 years. So I've been in litigation, personal injury litigation, for 25 years. And for about 20 of those years, I've been suing mortgage companies. And I've been asked to train lawyers, and I have trained lawyers around the country. And how do you sue mortgage companies to either stop a foreclosure or undo a foreclosure? And what I'd like you to do is take what I talk about here. If it makes sense, then use it. If there's something that does not make sense to you, then disregard it. And, you know, the people that say, I know everything and this is absolutely the right way for every single person in every situation to do, you should run from those people, okay? Because nobody is smart enough to know everything about every situation. I'm giving you some ideas, some framework, so that you can then decide what is best for you, whether you're handling it on your own or whether you're hiring a lawyer. Okay, here's what I want you to imagine before we get started. Imagine that you and I are in Birmingham, Alabama, and we want to go to Atlanta, Georgia. And so we get in the car, I get behind the wheel, and I jump on the interstate, and I'm just flying down the interstate. And you say, you know, John, are we going in the right direction? You know, because Atlanta's east of Birmingham, and it seems like we're going west. And I go, look, we've got a tight timetable here. We don't have time to look at the GPS. We just got to go. Matter of fact, I'm going to go faster so we'll get there. And you're like, yeah, but I think we're going away from Atlanta. Shouldn't we take a moment to sort of stop and figure out where we are and what direction we need to go? And I go, look, I'll solve all problems. I'll go faster. Or maybe I'll say, you know what? If we just stop and do nothing, I bet we'll get there fast. Now, obviously, those are absurd. And you would say, this guy's crazy. I'm never driving with this guy again. Okay. And particularly when we see the Welcome to Mississippi sign, then you know we've gone the wrong way. So, what is this GPS method? Well, the reason I use GPS method is you have to figure out your current location. See, if you want to go to Atlanta and you're in Birmingham, well, then you go east. Well, what if you're in Savannah, Georgia? You go west. What if you're in New York or Chicago? Well, you got to kind of head south. What if you're in Miami? You got to go north. Okay. So there's not just one answer where somebody says, oh, well, here's always the way to handle it. This is always the solution. Again, run from those people. Okay. I'm saying first you have to sort of take a deep breath and go, okay, let me figure out, where am I? What's my current location? Because the GPS won't work until you know your current location. So here are some questions, and we'll go through each one of these in a slide. Who owns your loan? Is it Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, USDA? Is it an FHA loan? Is it a private company? How about how far behind are you? Are you 2 months behind? How many days behind are you? A mortgage statement will tell you, you are 78 days or 1,043 days behind. It'll give you that exact number. How about dollars? Okay. How far behind are you? Is your mortgage $500 a month or is it $5,000 a month? It's going to make a difference how far behind you are in terms of actual dollars. Now, can you catch up your late payments? Sometimes people come to us and they say, oh my goodness, it's terrible. I'm 90 days late. I'm so afraid I'm going to lose my house. This is terrible. I'm going to lose my marriage. My kids will be traumatized. And they go through all this and I say, so how far behind are you? They go, oh, I'm $9,000 behind. Well, can you catch it up? Oh, yeah. I got 20,000 in the bank. It's like, boys, we don't really have a problem here. We can solve this, okay? So can you catch up? How about loss mitigation? We'll talk about different types of loss mitigation. And then sort of big picture, do you have the ability now or in the future to afford your home? In other words, to afford your normal monthly payments, because that's going to make a difference. So first, who owns your loan and why does that matter so much? Well, we've talked about this in other videos. I'm recording this on May the 2nd. And so we're still within this CARES Act, the federal legislation dealing with the COVID-19 crisis. So if you have a federally backed loan, you basically have an absolute right to get a forbearance where you can skip your payments. Now, ultimately, you have to make that up, but you can skip your payments as long as you can honestly say, I've been affected by the COVID-19 crisis. And again, I have a whole video where we go through the law on the CARES Act. So that's one reason why we've got to know, what type of loan do we have? Because it's so helpful to know whether you have this power or not. Do you have a Fannie? Do you have a Freddie? Do you have FHA, USDA, VA loan? What type of loan do you have? So how do you find out who owns your loan? Well, you can ask your servicer. You can call them up. You can online chat, whatever the mechanism is to get to your servicer. Your servicer is the one that sends out the mortgage statement, make sure you're making your payments. So it's going to be like NationStar, they call themselves Mr. Cooper now, Ocwen, Bayview. I mean, there's a bunch of them. But you can ask them, say, do I have a federally backed loan? Okay, like Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, FHA, USDA, VA. Well, you can check online. Okay, and in the description, I'll have 2 links so you can check and see if it's a Freddie or a Fannie loan. Okay? You can look at your loan documents. Now, sometimes the loan documents will have down at the bottom, you can tell this is like a Freddie Mac, a Fannie Mae form, FHA form. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have. It could be a private company has just said, you know what, we're going to use that standard document. Makes it easier for them to sell the loan. But you can check your loan. Now, if you have a VA loan, it's going to be pretty obvious. Okay? Usually with like a USDA loan, you'll see that. So point is, there are various ways to find out who owns your loan. The reason it matters so much is, do we have this relatively simple solution under the CARES Act to get a forbearance? Doesn't always mean we should get the forbearance, but you sure want to know that. Okay, how far behind are you? Well, it's important because there are deadlines that come up. So when you're 30 days or more late, they can report you on your credit report as 30 days late. Okay, when you're 60 days late, 60 days late. And I have a little subpoint here about, think about this also with the CARES Act. And again, we talk about that in the CARES Act video, where if you go into a forbearance or any type of thing, but specifically here, we'll think about forbearance, but again, it could be any loss mitigation. Whatever your status is, are you current, are you 30 days late, 60, 90, 120? That's what it will be during all the, what the law calls accommodation somebody gives you. So you want to know, how far behind are you? So in Alabama, the newspaper advertisement, which it's advertised for 3 weeks in a newspaper, that's really the only public part of a foreclosure besides the actual foreclosure sale. But leading up to the foreclosure, it's the newspaper advertisement. Well, they really need you to be at 120 days late to do that first ad. Okay. And then you lose certain loss mitigation, which we'll talk about here in just a second. You lose certain rights if you're closer than 37 days. So again, you want to know, how far behind are you? Okay. How much money are we talking about? Okay. Are we 100 days behind? Are we 30 days behind? 60 days, there are differences in all those. So you want to be able to write all this down. Who owns my loan? How far behind am I? Can I catch up my payments? So if you can catch them up, sometimes this is called reinstatement. Most mortgages say even up to 5 days before a foreclosure, you can still reinstate your loan. Okay. So again, this is the person that says, oh my goodness, this is terrible. I'm $9,000 behind, but I got 20 grand in the bank. Well, the simple solution is go reinstate it. Get caught up. That would be a great thing to do. Well, particularly if you can't do the forbearance. But even if you can do the forbearance under the CARES Act, you may still want to just reinstate your loan, still make those payments. Because again, let me tell you what, there is going to be a day of reckoning or days of reckoning when all these forbearances run out on these federally backed loans. Okay, it is going to be just chaos and a nightmare for people because people are going to go 6 months or 12 months not making a mortgage payment. And, we tend to get used to not making a mortgage payment. Now we're going to have to make our mortgage payment plus some additional amount. So if you can't do a forbearance and you can't catch up, then you really need to look at just this general thing called loss mitigation. So what are loss mitigation options? Loss mitigation simply means something to avoid a foreclosure. So it could be a forbearance. Okay. Now, you can get a forbearance outside of the CARES Act. Okay. Some companies will do that, but we're going to predominantly see it with the CARES Act. You could get a loan modification. That's where the terms of your loan are actually changed. So maybe I had 6% interest and I had 24 more years left on my loan payment. And they say, well, we're going to increase the amount of your loan because you got some back payments. And we're going to lower the interest rate to 3.5% and extend it out 40 years. Well, that would be modifying my loan. So it's the amount, it's the interest rate, and it's the term. And then all those will factor into what ultimately is your payment. Now, it might be a repayment amount. So maybe you're $10,000 behind. And they say, I tell you what, make your normal payment. And can you pay the full $10,000? You go, no, I can't. But I could pay an extra $2,500 for 4 months. They go, okay, it's a repayment plan. You could do a short sale. That's where your house, the loan that you owe on it's $400,000, but they'll let you sell the house for $350,000. So you're short $50,000. So it's called a short sale. That could be one option. Now you don't keep the house, you lose the house, but there's no foreclosure. Or you give them a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So you, in essence, hand them the ownership of the property and they don't go through a public foreclosure. So, and I have videos on this and I'll do some updated videos on loss mitigation, but let me just say this. You've got to be able to do loss mitigation and apply for it in the right way. You have to be able to document and prove every single thing you have done. And here's the terrible mistake people make. They assume their mortgage company is trying to be helpful. They assume their mortgage company will not lie to them. It's a terrible mistake. Your mortgage company will lie to you. They assume their mortgage company is competent. You should assume your mortgage company is incompetent. They are not competent. So when you send off information to your mortgage company and 3 weeks later they say, we didn't get it, we need to be able to prove you sent it. Did you send it certified mail, FedEx, UPS? And they go, oh, well, we got something from you, but it had none of the documents we requested. Well, did you keep a full copy of what you sent physically in a folder, electronically on Dropbox or Google Drive or Evernote? You've got to do those sorts of things. You've got to be able to prove what you did, because your mortgage company will lie to you. Or, sometimes people say, well, is it malice or just incompetence? Well, sometimes we don't know. And sometimes those kind of merge together. Somebody's so incompetent that it's like, okay, surely this has to be evil intent to be this incompetent. So you've got to protect yourself. Now, here's a question. Again, we're trying to figure out kind of what's our current location. Okay? Can you afford your home? And let me give you sort of an illustration, and then we'll get back to this slide. So people come to me and they say, hey, I need your help saving my home from foreclosure. I go, okay. Is there a foreclosure date set? Well, I don't know. I'm like, okay. Well, have you gotten letters from your mortgage company or the foreclosure lawyer? Well, yeah. Well, what do they say? I don't know. I haven't opened them. Well, how far behind are you? I don't know. Say, okay, so I'm recording this on May 2nd. Imagine I'm having the conversation May 2nd. So, did you make your May payment? No, no, no. Did you make your April payment? No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, did you make it or did you not make it? Well, I don't think I did. Well, how about March? I just don't know. And of course, in my head, and I'll just say it to people, like, what do you mean you don't know? I mean, either you made the payment or you did not make the payment. It's kind of a big deal. Either you made your mortgage payment or you did. Well, I don't know. How about February? Beats me. They say, can you find out for me? Like, well, yeah, I guess you can hire me to go through your bank statements, but you could do that. And here's when I know somebody, I don't even know if this is a word I'm about to say, unhelpable. Okay. They are not able to be helped. I say, well, go pull your bank statements and check and see if you paid January, February, March, April. They go, well, that would be a lot of work. I'd have to log into my website and maybe I forgot my password. I'd have to get the email and reset my password and log in and then look through the statements, and that's just a lot of work. And again, in my head, I'm thinking this, and I say to them, well, do you think it's going to be more work having to pack up everything in your house and leave than to take 10 minutes on Wells Fargo or whatever your bank website is? And so if somebody's not willing to do anything, then there's no hope for them. Okay. But if you're watching this video, I'm very confident that you are willing to put some work in. So again, figuring out your current location. Can you afford your home? If you say, absolutely. I mean, I can make the payments. I just, I got behind. I lost my job. Maybe it's COVID-19, but I'm going to be rehired, June 15, and I can make my payments. Well, then great. Then, keep pressing forward. If you say, well, really, I cannot make my payments. Well, then we need to figure out a way to lower the payments. Okay, so a loan modification. Again, it might lower the interest rate. It might stretch out the term of the loan. All that's going to have the effect of lowering, at least hopefully lowering, the amount that you pay every month. Or you say, well, I cannot afford it now, but give me 6 months. I'll be totally back on my feet. Well, that's sort of the purpose of the forbearance. Remember, under the CARES Act, if it's a federally backed loan, we can get up to 6 months. And if you've watched the other video, you'll know, and then really you can get another 6 months after that. But even if you're not covered by that law, and let me say this, there may be legislation, if I can say that word, that's coming soon, I hope anyway, that will sort of bail out these private mortgage companies and these non-federally backed loans. But the price they'll pay for that is they have to treat everybody like they're under the CARES Act. Okay. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. That would be nice because there's a big percentage of people who are not covered by the CARES Act. So maybe that will be changed by the time you're watching this video. But again, you check with your servicer. What are my options here? Okay. So again, if we can afford it in the future, think about a forbearance. What if we say, look, I can't catch up now, and I cannot afford my house right now, and it's not going to get any better in the future. I mean, in the last recession, we had people that were, they're in a $700,000 mortgage and they're making $250 a year just rocking and rolling, and they lose that job and they're like, I make $30,000 a year. Well, do you have any prospect that you're going to make more in the future? Nope. Well, it's just math. It doesn't work. There's no way you can afford the home. So you either have to figure out, kind of an obvious statement here, either I got to make more money, or I've really got to think about, does it even make sense to try to stay in my house? And if it doesn't, maybe I'll do that short sale. Maybe I'll do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. I'll do something so that I can get out from under this. Well, here's the next major point. What's the danger you face? And I'm doing this from the context of, or perspective of, Alabama, which is a non-judicial state. If you're in a judicial foreclosure state like Florida, it'll be slightly different. There's a lawsuit that's filed, and they win that lawsuit, and that's the court saying, now you can foreclose. In Alabama, they foreclose before any judge is involved unless you bring a judge into it. So the danger is ultimately foreclosure, whether that's non-judicial or judicial. You're going to have credit reporting. As you get further behind, there'll be credit reporting that will be negative, and then ultimately you'll say foreclosure. You may get sued to eject you. That's what we call in Alabama, or you might think of it as an eviction. So there's a foreclosure, and so now that bank owns your property, and now they're going to sue you to kick you out of your house. Well, they can also ask for money damages, because think about it. If they foreclosed on June 2nd and you don't get out till December, well, for 6 months you stayed in, quote, their house, okay? And so they're entitled to damages if they can properly prove it. And what if your mortgage was $400,000, and at the foreclosure sale, which is not, you don't get fair market value at a foreclosure sale. Okay, fair market value is a willing seller under no compulsion to sell and a willing buyer under no compulsion to buy. Well, that tells you what the fair market value is. A foreclosure is not fair market value because you have an unwilling seller. That would be you if you are foreclosed. So your house is worth $400,000, or you owe $400,000, and the foreclosure sale brings $300,000. Well, what about that $100,000 difference, right? 400 minus 300. That's the deficiency. You will owe that, and you can get sued on that. Now, some states, they may not allow that. Alabama certainly does. Okay, and so that can be, you could be sued by the mortgage company. It could be turned over to a debt collector, sold to a debt buyer, appears on your credit report. They sue you. So you could be foreclosed, sued for ejectment, have money damages for staying in, quote, their property now. And then you could be sued for the deficiency, get a judgment, be garnished for that. So there's a whole bunch of dangers that you face. So why do you have to take immediate massive action? Because time is not your friend. Okay? You're behind. Maybe you've got a foreclosure set. Maybe you're rolling towards that. The point is, time is not your friend. Inertia is not your friend. So inertia is one of those words that, sometimes we throw around. And the best definition is tendency to remain unchanged. So you could think about, like if you're driving a car, well, the inertia is, if you're driving west, the inertia is taking your car west. If you just do nothing, that's what you're going to continue to do. Okay? If you're stopped doing nothing, that's what you're going to stay. So there are people who bring in, they meet with me, and let's say this. I mean, we've been doing virtual meetings and video conferencing for 99% of our clients for probably the last 5 years, okay? But occasionally somebody'd want to meet in person, or we do this over Zoom or some other video conferencing. And they have this big stack of letters from the mortgage company, from the foreclosure attorney. I said, what do the letters say? I don't know. Haven't opened them. And it's almost this idea, and look, I've fallen victim to this as well. It's like, if I don't know, then maybe it'll just get better on its own. No. It doesn't get better on its own, okay? So inertia is not your friend. Time's not your friend. Your mortgage company is not your friend, okay? They are not going to protect. I mean, we have sued so many mortgage companies for lying, and under oath, they will admit, oh, yeah, we lied to your client. And they do that because, sometimes rightly so, they're protected under Alabama law when they lie to you under some circumstances. Now, not so much under federal law, and we're always looking for various federal laws to use against them, but they are not your friend, okay? The government's not going to protect you. You say, but what about the CARES Act? Yeah, the CARES Act is great, but you have to do something to make the CARES Act work for you. You have to make sure you have the right type of loan and that you take action. Okay? Trust me, there will be a lot of people foreclose and they'll say, well, you know, I called once and I couldn't get through to a servicer, so I just didn't do anything because I thought it was illegal for them to foreclose. No, they can foreclose on you. So the point is, don't be looking for your mortgage company to save you, the government to save you. You have to save your home. Now, that could mean you do this on your own, or it could mean you hire a lawyer. But the point is, you have to do something. You have to do this on your own. You have to hire the lawyer. You have to save your home. Nobody else is going to save your home. It all depends on you. You have to do something. Nobody else is going to do this. And remember this, and I talk about this all the time on my channel. Knowledge is not power. See, watching this video, I think it's really good content, or I wouldn't share it. And I know it sounds probably egotistical, but I think this is really good. We have helped a ton of people over many, many, many years save their homes from foreclosure, even reverse foreclosures so that they can stay in their home. But whether this is good information or bad information, here's the point. If you just gain knowledge, if you're the smartest person in the world, you know the most about the mortgage law, you know way more than any attorney knows, you know way more about the mortgage industry than anybody else knows, and you do nothing, that's not power. You know, people say knowledge is power. No, knowledge is not power. Knowledge plus action. Now you get true consumer power. Now you have something that can be valuable. So what I'm trying to help you do in this video is gain some knowledge and point you in the right direction to get more knowledge, and also to encourage you, take action. You've got to do that, or none of this is any good. And your top priority has to be to save your home. You know, I'd have people that have a $500,000 house, and I say, look, I need you to, you know, they call me up, we do a quick consultation. I say, maybe I can help you. I need to know what letters you got from your mortgage company, how far behind you are, all these types of things. And they go, you know, we really had plans for tonight. And this weekend, we have some baseball games to go to. And, you know, I really wanted to go on that vacation next week. I just don't think I have time to do this. And say, well, you did tell me that there's a foreclosure set in 7 days. Yeah, you think they would move it? I'm like, no, we can't just snap our fingers and they move it. We have to actually do something. And people say, well, I just don't have time to deal with this. I just can't deal with the stress. I can't take the time. I'm really busy. You don't understand. I work. I go to school. I got kids. Hey, I get it. But either saving your home is the top priority or it's not. There's only one top priority. Either put it up there or admit to yourself, be honest and say, it's not my top priority. Maybe it's number 2. Maybe it's number 10. But it's not my top priority. I'm suggesting if you're serious about saving your home, you have to make it your top priority. I'm not saying for the rest of your life. I'm saying you're in an emergency. You know, if your spouse or your child had some terrible injury and you said, you know, this is going to take time taking them to the emergency room. And you know, if I do that, I'm not spending time with my other kids. Well, no, that doesn't matter. You've got to take care of the emergency right then. Get past the emergency, then your life can come back to normal. Obviously, we're seeing this with the COVID-19, right? So make it a top priority to save your home. So how do you do this on your own? You say, I don't want to hire a lawyer. I want to do this on my own. You can do it on your own. You figure out your starting location. Okay, so you're not hiring a lawyer to help you do that. You're figuring out who owns your loan, how much behind you are, you know, what the deadlines are, the dates, all that sort of stuff. Then you reach out to your servicer and you request help. Can you do that by phone? Yeah, do it by phone. Well, what if I can't get through by phone? We'll do it online. Well, what if I can't get through online or by phone? Do it certified mail. Well, what if I don't want to take the time to write a letter? Well, then lose your house. That sounds harsh, but I'm just being very blunt with you. If you're going to do this on your own, you have to take the time to do it. You can't say, well, I don't want to spend a bunch of money on a lawyer. And look, it's very expensive to hire a lawyer to save your house from foreclosure. You say, I don't want to do that. Well, then you've got to spend a lot of time. And say, I've had people say to me, well, I call and it says the wait time is going to be like 37 minutes. I don't have time to wait 37 minutes. Well, then jump online. Well, no, I can't get through online. We'll send a letter. Well, I'm not going to go mail something. And, I don't want to go to the post office. Obviously, you get my point. Either it's important and you're willing to spend the time or you're not. Okay? And you've got to be persistent because you can think of this as a game. The mortgage companies over there, they know you've got some rights. But if they can discourage you from following through on that, they win. So the game is rigged against you. They want you to give up. They want you to be on a phone call for 15 minutes and the little voice comes on and says, your estimated time is 2 more minutes, and then boom, hangs up on you. What? I got to start all over. I got to get, or you get through to them and you mail them a bunch of documents and they say, we didn't get them. You go, yeah, I got the FedEx proof. I know you signed for it. They go, oh, okay, we got it. But we lost everything that you sent us. You need to resend it. Well, see, what a lot of people do is go, well, that's crazy. I'm not doing that. I didn't keep a copy of it. I sent my only copy. Don't send your only copy. Keep a copy. Keep it in a file folder right on there. I sent this on May the 3rd, 2020. Then have a Dropbox or a Google Drive or Evernote or whatever cloud-based service that you want. And have it up there in a folder. These are exactly the documents I sent. So when your mortgage company says, you got to resend those bank statements because you never sent them the first time. You go, well, actually, I did send them. That's why you asked me to resend them. But yeah, I'll send them to you again. And then when they ask you for the third time, say, we never got them. Well, yeah, actually, you did. Here's the FedEx. Here's the email. But I'll send them again to you. Okay? You've got to be persistent. They want you to give up. They want you to give up. They want you to give up. You cannot give up. If you give up, they win the game and you lose your house. And what does that do to your family? So don't give up. Keep very detailed records. And you have to use all the tools at your disposal. Is there inaccurate credit reporting? I can tell you in Alabama, usually there's false credit reporting as you get closer to a foreclosure. Can you do some disputes there? Find that they violated the law. Gives you some leverage over them. Can you use the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act? Can you send a validation letter or use the FDCPA in other ways against your mortgage company if it's considered a debt collector and if it's acting as a debt collector? How about against the collection lawyers? Can you use that if they're doing something that's wrong? How about an RFI, which is a request for information under RESPA? It's sort of related to what used to be called a QWR, Qualified Written Request, but it's much better. How about an NOE, Notice of Error letter under RESPA? Can you use those letters properly? Because they're very powerful if you use them in the right manner. And it can give some leverage for you to force your mortgage company to do the right thing. And sometimes when they get the right letters and they go, okay, this guy, this gal, they know what they're doing. We better go ahead and fix this problem because otherwise I can tell that we're about to get sued by these guys. Okay? That's what you want. You got to use all the tools at your disposal. Well, what if you say, my house is my biggest investment. It's important to me financially, emotionally, just the stability of my family. I don't want to do this on my own. I'm not doing my own surgery here. I want to find the right lawyer to help me. So you've got to know what's the cost of the lawyer. Kind of obvious, right? What's the cost? Now, the reason I say that is a lot of people just assume all lawyers operate on an hourly basis. And that's not exactly true. Well, let me say it more clearly. That's not true. Now, some do, but not everybody does. Some lawyers will say, I'll divide the process of saving your home up into phases. And for phase one, it's X number of dollars. Or, hey, we're going to be in litigation to get from point A to point B, it's going to be this much, and from point B to point C, it's going to be this much. Others do it on a monthly fee, okay? And others do it on an hourly basis, okay? But if you're talking to somebody, you should be able to get a sense from them, not exactly, they're not going to know exactly what it's going to cost, but to give you an idea. You may say, well, look, if the mortgage company does the right thing very quickly, it'll be this much. If it goes past 3 months, it'll be this much. And so you can start to get a feel for how much and then say, well, is that worth it? Now, I would suggest to you, you find someone who's done this before. Okay? Talk to a lawyer who has stopped a foreclosure. Talk to a lawyer who has reversed a foreclosure. Unless you're comfortable with somebody learning how to do this. And I bring that up for a couple reasons. One, there can be new lawyers. Okay? Well, obviously, if you're a new lawyer, you haven't done this before. Okay? And somebody has to be the first client, right? I mean, it's like brain surgery. I mean, somebody's got to be the first brain surgeon patient of the doctor. So you're going to have new lawyers, and you will also have lawyers that have been practicing in some other area in this COVID-19, and then what I believe will be a very harsh recession may totally destroy their ability to practice in other areas, at least to make money. So they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm a foreclosure defense lawyer. And understand with lawyers, we're not, there's no sort of formal specialization, okay? Somebody's asking me about taking the bar in another state, and they say, well, which part of the bar do you take? John, you do personal injury and you do consumer litigation. Do you just take that? I go, no, you got to take the whole bar, okay? So, we might describe ourselves, say, well, look, I'm a foreclosure defense attorney. I'm a personal injury attorney. I sue debt collectors. But ultimately, you're a lawyer, okay? And so somebody who's never been in a courtroom, never looked at a mortgage can say, you know what? I'm a foreclosure defense lawyer. Well, they may be the best one ever, okay? But you need to be comfortable with the fact that they're learning sort of on your dime. And maybe they're talented enough and maybe they're cheap enough that you say that's worth it. That's a decision you make. Third thing I would say is, does a lawyer explain to you where you are in the process? So we have a video, and then there's 3 videos that sort of flow from this called the 3 stages of foreclosure. Okay, so there's before the foreclosure, there's the actual foreclosure, and then there's after the foreclosure. And I'm talking about in Alabama. And because I want people to be able to see where they are in this process. So are you in stage 1? Are you over here? Where are you? And whether you're in Alabama or another state, you want that lawyer to be able to explain to you, where are we? Okay? I mean, there's a big difference between being 30 days late and being 330 days late with a foreclosure set tomorrow. Those are 2 totally different things. You need to know where you are in the process. That's part of that sort of GPS current location. Okay? And then the fourth thing is, will the lawyer tell you the strategy? Or do they say, oh, no, that's all hidden in this black box. I couldn't possibly reveal that. Those are all my secrets. I can't tell you my secrets. Well, again, you make a decision on that. I would suggest you want somebody that's going to lay out the strategy for you. Now, I'll say this. Some people say, and I have people contact my office, and I know other lawyers from around the country because they tell me this. Somebody say, look, I've got this whole box full of documents. It's totally disorganized. I want to just drop it off at your office. I want you to spend 8 hours going through it. I want you to carefully construct the best strategy for me. Then I want to be able to talk to you about that for 3 or 4 hours, and I don't want to pay you any money for that. Well, good luck with that, okay? Try that with your doctor, your brain surgeon, anybody. So if you want the strategy, then be willing to pay for it. I mean, it's kind of common sense, right? That if you want the lawyer to spend enough time, I'm not talking about like a 15-minute free consultation. I mean, we'll do that for an Alabama foreclosure, and I'll be able to say, look, I don't think I can help you, or I do think I can help you, or maybe you need to go file bankruptcy. I can sort of tell very quickly about that. But when somebody says, well, tell me exactly what we're going to do, well, that takes a lot of time. And so, again, just to be blunt, you got to pay for that, okay? So if you want the strategy, be willing to pay for it. And is that $250? Is it $500? $1,000? Well, it just depends. Okay. But you should know that going in. And you should know before you even talk to the lawyer, at least before you hire the lawyer for a consultation or a strategy session, say, will you explain to me what our options are? And if the lawyer says, oh, no, 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 I can't tell you because then you'll go do it on your own. Well, I mean, you decide what you want to do. If it was me, I would say, well, look, Mr. Lawyer, Miss Lawyer, I'm paying you money. I want you to tell me kind of the strategy here. And then I can decide if it makes sense and I want to hire you, or maybe I want to go back a screen, right, to do this on my own. That's what I want to do. So that's my suggestion for you. And ultimately, do you feel comfortable with the lawyer? Does she answer your questions? Does he kind of, dismiss any concern you have? You feel comfortable with them? And do you feel confident that you're spending your money for somebody who's going to give you a better chance and hopefully the best shot at victory? Because if you don't feel confident and you don't feel comfortable with them, why are you hiring them? Okay? Unless there's just no other option. It's sort of like a doctor. The doctor says, I need to do this major spinal surgery on you, and there's all these terrible risks involved. And you say to yourself, I don't feel comfortable with this doctor, and I sure don't feel confident in this doctor. Well, then don't let him cut on your spine. Okay? So you want somebody that you're comfortable with and that you're confident in. So what do you do next? Well, I would go through those steps in the GPS foreclosure defense that we talked about. Find your starting location, your current location. I know I keep repeating this, but it's just mission critical to understand. You have to know where you are. Remember my example when I said, imagine this, that we're driving west and you're like, hey, I don't think we're going to Atlanta. And so then I go 100 miles an hour. I'm still going west. I'm like, well, if I just go faster, I'll get there. No, if I just do that, besides like getting arrested or wrecking, I'll end up in the Pacific Ocean eventually. Okay, I need to be going the right direction. I have to know my starting location, my current location for GPS to work. Okay, then you have to do this honest self-evaluation and say, look, do I want to do this on my own or do I want to hire a lawyer? And again, somebody says you should never do anything legal on your own. Well, that's not entirely true. Or you should always hire a lawyer, or you should never hire a lawyer. Well, again, those absolute statements are a sign that whoever's saying that has no clue what they're talking about. So I'm sure I will get comments on this video. People say, oh, see, it's just a lawyer. Never use a lawyer. All lawyers are crooked. All lawyers are incompetent. This guy's a complete idiot. Well, I may be incompetent. I may be an idiot. But that doesn't mean that all lawyers are that way. Okay? And so you have to honestly decide, is this something I'm willing to tackle on my own? Or am I more comfortable and confident in hiring the right lawyer? And it may take you interviewing a number of lawyers to find the right lawyer. You want to do it yourself or you want somebody else to do it? So if you're doing it on your own, you've got to educate yourself. Remember when I said you got to have action to have true consumer power, but you also have to have knowledge, okay? You can't just be driving west 100 miles an hour and think you're going to get to Atlanta from Birmingham. You've got to educate yourself. You're going up against huge companies with tons of money, and they don't hire small law firms. They hire the biggest law firms, usually kind of multi-state law firms, national law firms. Just there's reasons for it. It makes sense for the mortgage companies to do that. But you're going to be facing lawyers. This is all they do. And they love to see somebody who doesn't have a lawyer, particularly when that person is not educated and doesn't understand the rules. It's like, hey, let's go play football, and you don't know the rules to the game. Well, there's all sorts of little tricks that the other side can do, and if you're just not aware of the rules, you're going to get burned. So if you're doing it on your own, got to educate yourself. If you hire a lawyer, investigate the lawyers. Find the one you're comfortable with. And somebody will often say to me, well, how quickly do I need to make a decision? So I've described that here in the last point as the urgency. Well, honestly, I can't tell you unless I know where you are right now. Do you have a foreclosure set on Monday? Well, I'm recording this on Saturday. It's like, buddy, we got to hustle. Okay. We got to work tonight. We got to work Sunday. We got to do a whole lot of stuff to get the, or are you saying, I made my May payment. I'm concerned I may not can make my June payment. Well, we don't have to work Saturday night and Sunday to solve that problem. It's not quite as urgent. So where are you in this process? And that's why I keep harping on mission critical, got to know your current location. The GPS won't work unless you know your current location. So if you want more help, if your property's in Alabama, you're always welcome to contact me, alabamaconsumer.com. You can call my firm, 205-879-2447. We represent people all over the state of Alabama. If you're outside of Alabama, if you go to consumeradvocates.org and then find-and-attorney, that's a great place. This is NACA, National Association of Consumer Advocates. You put in your state, you can even put in your city. You can say, I want a debt collection defense lawyer, I want a student loan lawyer, or a foreclosure or mortgage lawyer. And these are all people that all we do is represent consumers, okay? So it's not like we go, well, 20% of my business is representing company. No, no, no. All we do is represent consumers. And so you can find some lawyers there. And I would caution you, don't be sort of obsessed with it has to be somebody in my city, okay? I would rather you get somebody who's great, who's 3 hours away, than somebody who's 3 minutes away and they're not very good, okay? Particularly, I mean, let me just say this. For many years, we've represented people all over the state of Alabama. And, we don't make our clients drive 6 hours to sit in our office in our conference room. We do video calls, we do phone calls, we text, we email. I mean, all those. Nowadays, at least in Alabama, and I think in most states, we can file stuff anywhere in the state. We immediately get notified of any court hearing. There's no reason geography should be an issue here, okay? So you may want to start broadly or start in your city and then sort of expand, but I would, keep looking until you find a lawyer in your state that you're comfortable with and you're confident in. If you want to do this on your own, nclc.org is a fantastic place, National Consumer Law Center. They have some sort of consumer guides there that are very helpful, but they also have books. I mean, if you truly want to do this on your own, you can buy these books. They're not cheap, okay, but they are the best books, okay? Maybe they're like $150, $200 a piece. So you got Fair Credit Reporting Act, you got debt collectors, you have one on foreclosures and mortgages. So if you want to do this on your own, that would be a place to go. So whether you do this on your own, you hire a lawyer, I truly wish you only the best of success. Thanks for watching this video. If you like it, feel free to click the like button, subscribe. You can share it with people. If you have sort of general comments, put those below. If you're in Alabama, my suggestion is don't put a detailed comment there. Just reach out directly to me. And do keep in mind, if you're facing foreclosure in Missouri, I'm not your guy to talk to, okay? I don't know what the law is in Missouri. You have to have a lawyer licensed in your state to be able to help you with this. So anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I appreciate you sticking around. I have no idea how long this is, probably pretty long. So congratulations for making it to the end, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.